part of what public relations is. I think people have a misperception that it's only the media side of things. It's really, the media is a byproduct of getting all the other steps right.
Hello, Next Gen fam. Welcome back to Mentor Momentum with Next Gen HQ. I am beyond excited to introduce this week's guest. She is truly an amazing innovator in the PR world. Previously, she worked as a VP at 2 PR firms in New York, and now she is the co-managing partner at Pursuit PR, a firm that she founded back in 2017. So we have so much to dive into. I got to welcome her onto the stage. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us on Mentor Momentum.
Thank you, Andrew. It's nice to be here.
I want to dive in right away into your transition from what some might call the corporate world to the world of entrepreneurship. What was that experience like for you in 2017? Obviously with tons of PR experience in your background, but really for the first time kind of jumping off and starting your own venture. What was that like for you?
It was great. It was something that I've always wanted to do. I had decided when I was in college, I had originally been a broadcast journalism major. So I wanted to be, a news anchor covering business and political news. And halfway through my experience at Newhouse at Syracuse, I realized that the lifestyle that's involved was not something I was interested in. And so I wanted to shift. And I was really relieved that when I did shift and I explored public relations, the optionality in the field, because so many companies need PR. And once I got into it, I was actually really fortunate to meet some really great people that actually really inspired me. CEOs and others that founded their own firms that were part of the Newhouse network came to speak with us. So when I was listening to them talk about how they learned, they took their experience, they did it at the right time, and just the different creative things they did to get themselves started, I just wanted to do it. So being able to do it alone, like that alone, just be trying to do it, for me was a good thing. It was something I believe in, trying and just taking that leap of faith.
Absolutely. And you guys have built something so amazing. You have this always on policy, as you say it, and you're turning companies into newsrooms. Can you share a little bit about this philosophy and how you're, actually working with your clients to transform their company into a newsroom that's able to react and be proactive about everything going on?
Yeah, so we're very focused on the message and the story. And so having that story at the center and making sure the story is aligned with the company's business objectives really positions the companies that they can be proactive and reactive. And so what you don't want is to be chasing every single thing in front of you, saying the wrong thing in an interview, doing an interview and doing it poorly. So you want to make sure that you know what you want to say, what the reputation of the company is supposed to be, what you're striving for. And that really helps so that no matter what setting, what channel, whether it's a television interview, print, radio, social media post, a webinar, a video, a podcast, a speaking engagement, sales and marketing material, that story, that message of who are we, why does it matter, what's our value prop, needs to come through in all of those ways in a consistent manner.
Yeah. On that thread, what do you see as being the biggest problem for young entrepreneurs as they're starting to build their own brand? Is it that they don't have a cohesive story, or are there other issues that you believe happen in the space when you're really just trying to form your original first brand?
I think that in general, public relations encompasses, the way we look at it and the way we operate, encompasses digital marketing, social media, original content development. It's really about that story, like I said. So I think people get too fixated on, I want to be on television, or I want a great social media channel. You have to focus on that story, because no matter what channel you're on, if it's not done with the right intention and the right vibe, it's not going to be successful. So I think rushing to do something tactical and rushing to do too many things at once and having unrealistic expectations can get in the way of actually saying, what do I want to be known for?
Yeah. What is your belief on should new companies, should they be on every single channel? I've heard both sides of the spectrum here where it's like, all right, you gotta be on Instagram, you gotta be on TikTok, you gotta be on Clubhouse, you gotta be everywhere. Or on the other side, being able to be where, you know, your audience is. Where do you kind of fall and shake out on that spectrum?
Well, everything we do is custom to each client. So it depends on what their needs are. But generally speaking, we look at it from that lens. What are your needs from your business, and what are your clients or customers' needs, and where are they? Yeah. And you should be where they are. So if they're not on Facebook, then there's really no reason for you to over-index on Facebook. You perhaps want to have a presence, but if really you're going to get the best from LinkedIn, then you want to emphasize that. So it's about, I think, levers to pull, and looking at social media channels and traditional media as amazing levers. And you can pull each of them at different speeds and weights, depending on where your audience is.
Absolutely. Speaking of the, you know, next generation entrepreneur, you know, I thinking about our audience, and it's like, all right, traditional media for them is like something they're probably like, wait, who's on? Like, nobody's watching TV, who's reading the newspaper? What would you say about traditional media and the value it still has of, you know, these businesses wanting to promote their services and really explode their growth?
So that's actually something that we've been talking about throughout COVID. We've written content on this. The concept of out of sight, out of mind does not work, right? When you're trying to build your brand. So you want to get your message out, and social media is absolutely a great way to control your message, create content, whether it's a blog, written, podcast, video. Yeah. Earned media, however, ultimately, despite everything that's gone on, still has a significant amount of lift in terms of bolstering someone's credibility and reach. So even if somebody's not tuned into CNBC at 9:12 when you're on in the morning, you still leverage that, and you repurpose and package it on your social channels, on your email marketing channels, and you want to make sure if your audience didn't catch it, that you reach out to them and share it. So the aspect of merchandising what you're doing is important, not just letting it be a moment in time and making it longer lasting.
That's fascinating. You know, when you see the people in our audience, the ones that do end up on traditional media, when they reshare it, you're always like, oh my gosh, wow, they ended up on TV. That's crazy. That's awesome. So I think you're spot on that even if you're not watching live, you're getting that like credibility factor that comes from, you know, getting the earned media.
Yeah, because earned media, the magic of it is that you're not paying the media for it. It's genuinely earned. And that's the public relations team's job, is to earn your seat at the table in these conversations that are shaping dialogues in your industry, positioning you so that you're really a thought leader and you're really known on whatever it is you want to be known for. So that earns you that credibility with the journalist, that earns the credibility and interest in interviewing you. So when you've gotten over that hump, you've gotten through a big hurdle. Whereas in an advertisement, you're paying for it and the audience knows you paid for it. And it's still great because your name is out there and someone's repeatedly seeing your name and your message, but you know it was paid for. So that's why with sponsored content, it's important to, if you did pay for content, like in a media outlet, which is great and people do it, if it's not a perfect fit for unpaid and you need to pay for it, no problem. But you do need to still disclaim that it's sponsored so that you can be transparent. So just knowing it's organic is a big deal.
Absolutely. In your mind, when should like a startup start thinking about PR? I feel like it's one of those things in our industry, in the startup world, where you're kind of like, all right, once I make it big, then, you know, I can start thinking about a PR firm. But I feel like that's not the right approach, that there's so much value that you could get. And I know it's maybe not your space of pursuit, but from your experience in the industry, when do you think a startup should start engaging with a PR firm?
Well, I say this truly right away, you should be figuring out what your message is. And having been someone who started a company, what are we doing? We're figuring out our mission statement. We're writing the copy for our website. We obviously are doing business planning. And people have to understand that if it's a good public relations team, they're going to be well-rounded. So you're going to have that more higher level communications expertise that's going to help you. Well, what's the name of my company? What is my name? What does the name of my company signify and mean? And how do I tell my story about how I founded the company? And and how do I describe myself? And that's part of what public relations is. I think people have a misperception that it's only the media side of things. It's really, the media is a byproduct of getting all the other steps right.
Absolutely. And I think I want to commend you and your team on building out a company that has, I think your core values too, as a company, are so powerful, and they then transferred to the work that you guys are doing with all of your clients. One thing you talked about was that like transparency. And I think, in the world, when you're starting to grow a business, you kind of have a little bit of that, like fake it until you make it
right.
System. And I find that tends to conflict a bit with transparency sometimes. How are you guys continuing to stay true to your values as you've grown and scaled from, original startup to now having such a large impact with so many incredible clients?
Well, I'll unpack that in a few ways. So just on an individual level, outside of running a business, I think when you're starting out, whether you're running a business or you're in the corporate world, you are learning a lot, and you need to focus on being present and what's in front of you. And you want to achieve your future goals, but not at the sacrifice of enjoying or even just fully experiencing the present moment. So just being open to surprises, being humble, willing to focus on fundamentals. Ultimately the present will fuel the future. But I think just from a mindset standpoint, whether you're working for an employer or working for yourself, just going with each step of the way. And so what we really do focus on is just cherishing our clients, and we're very present with them. And it's not as much about what's the next one. It's about the clients we have and just really giving them as much value as we possibly can, so that we have a good reputation. And, obviously there will be referrals and other things that can come from it, but it's like one step at a time. When I first started, we actually had 0 clients. So last day of my job was on a Friday, and on Monday I did a very scrappy social media post that I'm starting Pursuit PR. No clients.
Wow.
So when you start with no clients, you just do one at a time.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And I love your guys' focus. I think, too many startups are like, oh, we have to scale, we have to get to that level of, all right, now we're making a ton of money so we can keep hiring the team, and then we can focus on the client experience. But I think you're spot on that you then start to lose the clients. You're not getting the referral business. It's not being a flywheel, and you end up constantly doing work on the front end without getting the fruits on the back end of all the work that you put in. What was that experience like when you got your first client? Like, talk us through that. You start this company, like you said, no clients to start, and then client number 1 comes in. What was that moment like for you and the team?
It was a feeling that of just security, I guess, that we can really do this. And like I said, also gratitude, because just saying, really appreciating the opportunity and really wanting to make the most of it. And I think a big part of getting clients that I found was, prior to even publicly saying that, Pursuit PR is starting, was planting the seeds and really actually, we're talking about mentorship a bit on this podcast. So talking about looking at who your mentors are and who your network is, from a, not contacts, but who can support you and who do you want to gut check with to make sure that you have a viable idea. So I was, at least 6 months before, privately, quietly talking to people that I trusted and just declaring out loud, I want to start my own PR firm. That was the first time I ever told anybody outside of my family what my intentions were. And when I started telling people, I was able to get a sense of if it resonated, what people thought it would take. And then of course, that's a way of telling people that you're available to them at some point. So you're doing a little bit of a business development, but it was really about, what do you guys think? Can I pull it off? Would you hire me? What should I, and getting that mentorship.
Absolutely. One thing we love to talk about here at NextGen is mistakes and failures and the lessons that you learn from them. And obviously, having dove in on your own, I'm sure there have been trials and tribulations along the way, but is there maybe one mistake or failure that from your journey and a lesson you learned from it so that our people can avoid that same trap?
I would say in general, just giving yourself grace and recognizing that when something is new, it's always going to be a learning curve. Even if it's something you think you've been prepared for, there's still a learning curve. And just understanding that where you are in this moment is exactly where you need to be. So if you apply yourself and you try to do your best every day and you hold yourself accountable, your odds of succeeding obviously would be higher, but you can't control everything. So you just have to go with that grace of enjoying the process, and that will allow, really from a life perspective, for you to enjoy your life more, because you're just enjoying the experiences that you're having.
Absolutely. Rich, you're performing at such a high level, leading a team, doing so many things at once. What are you doing in your day-to-day personal routines, life that'll set you up for success every single day and allow you, like you said, to enjoy life more, not just work more?
So the biggest thing that I've adopted over the past couple of years was just having a morning routine. I try to find time so I don't cut my morning too close where I'm waking up and immediately going to my computer, right? So you have to wake up obviously earlier, and you have to give yourself time to do whatever is going to help you feel energized for the day. So for me, I really like to immediately, I get up and I take a walk. And especially with COVID, that actually has been something I've been doing more, because I haven't been going to any public fitness classes or anything like that. So just getting that fresh air, taking a walk, having breakfast. And while I'm walking, I'm just very open-ended in my thoughts, and I am thinking about my day. And I find that movement allows, your blood flow creates that creative flow. And then I think also throughout the day, taking a break for 10 minutes, you can leave your desk and take a walk or read something that inspires you, a quote or something, call a mentor, just because you actually helps you. People think, if I just sit here for 8 hours, I can get out at 6 o'clock today. Been there, done that. Doesn't happen. So actually allowing yourself to take a deep breath, you're going to be more productive, and you're actually going to probably be able to, balance your work, personal life kind of stuff better.
Absolutely. How are you able to, because I think you're spot on that everyone's like, okay, if I just put all this work in right now, then I'll have my night free, and I'll have my weekend free. How are you taking this, I think this work-life balance or integration that you're bringing up, and your ability to, take a step back for 30 minutes, an hour, go for a walk if you need to. What has that process been like to give yourself permission for that? Because I do think it's not something that is, very commonplace amongst, our society here in, the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we've been operating a virtual workforce for 4 years now, and we actually had thought about getting an office, but what we found was that people really wanted to meet us actually out to lunch or coffee, or our clients wanted us to come to their office, or we go to a television studio. So it was, in living in New York City, just doing a home office and making that a place, more livable. And so we've been doing this for a while before COVID, and we've done a couple things, balancing out the week of meeting with people in person and being in the office. I think in general, even if you're not working from home, just for me personally, I like to engage and meet with people as well. So having a few days a week where I know I'm going to set up a bunch of meetings, and other days where I'm going to be more heads down, gives you some variety. And I think in a COVID environment, it's just kind of going with the flow, but having your own boundaries. So, there's that all or nothing mentality of I'm going to sit here and I'm going to eat my lunch at my desk and I'm going to try really hard to get out as early as I can, like I discussed before. But if you just understand that the work, if you're lucky, will always be there. So just focusing on what's the most important so that you can actually do a good job and have good quality work. It, I think helps people manage their time better.
Yeah, Rachel, one question we love to make sure we ask is, looking back now, given all that what pieces of advice would you give to, the 20 to 30-year-old version of yourself, in coming out of school, thinking about the future ahead of you? What piece of advice would you give to that version of you and ultimately to the audience that you're speaking to?
I think it just goes back to being present in the moment and just understanding that the fundamentals are very important. And so something that a mentor gave me great advice was, before I started my first job, actually said I wasn't going to like it very much, that the tasks would be quite menial, that I would be a little frustrated, but to stick with it and just try to just do a good job with what I was being given. And then I'll build from there. And that really helped me, because if there was a time where I thought, I really want to work on this, not this.
Yeah.
Reminding myself, no, this is my job today. I need to do a great job with it. And that's part of proving yourself, but it's also part of learning and mastering those fundamentals so that you can teach other people and you can do everything very well. But you can't, start from ground zero. So I think when people, when we're interviewing people, we're talking to people, we want to see people that have ambition and have goals, but we also want to see people that will do what's in front of them and build from there as a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like throughout your journey, you've had some incredible mentors that have, gotten you to where you are now. What, in your mind, would you say to our audience about mentorship and finding, not just mentorship in this form, but also individualized one-on-one mentors? How has that impacted your journey? If you could speak more about that.
Mentorship has been huge. I mean, as I said, prior to officially launching, I tapped into my mentor community, and that gave me good confidence boost. It also gave me direction. I showed them my business cards, I showed them all my stuff, got all this feedback, and it really helped me from that perspective. I even had a mentor connect me with someone he knew so I can use office space. And it was just really helpful having these people that, and just also knowing that these people believed in me. It was helpful. It was supportive. And then throughout my time to develop these mentorships, I found that it was just about being genuine. And if I did feel that someone was I was connecting with somebody well, I would ask them, if I can have lunch with them or coffee. I would proactively seek them out. And more often than not, people were very receptive.
Rachel, I don't know how, but somehow we made it close to the end of our time here. I mean, this flew by way too quick, but before we end, I want to give the mic back to you for any closing thoughts, words of wisdom, PR tips, even for the next generation audience that you're speaking to.
I guess just to close it off on two fronts, if you're just starting on your career and especially if you want to start a business, just always making sure to write things down. I have a phrase called verbal schmerble, right? So just talking about something doesn't necessarily make it real. You have to do a combination of talking about it and telling people about it, but following through. So having a business plan and, and writing your goals down and what the steps are going to be. So knowing you want to be flexible, things will change and evolve, but having a framework and writing something down forces you to look yourself in the mirror and poke holes at your plan and make it better.
Verbal schmerble. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for everything you've shared from the beginning to the end of this interview. So many impactful nuggets for our audience, and I can't wait for everybody to get their ears and eyes on this episode. So thank you for joining us on Mentor Momentum with NextGen HQ.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Mentor Momentum, sharing life and business lessons from incredible leaders. Looking for more momentum? Subscribe to our weekly Momentum newsletter at nextgenhq.com and check out our other podcast, Momentum Audio, on any of your favorite podcast channels. Now that's momentum.